Get your mud baths and face masks ready. It's time for a spa day. Spa. We've got a new scan. After a handful of laps, it felt pretty familiar. Just like trying to reacclimate myself to different cues for some of the corners that I had. Little scuffs on the track that I would use for brake markers aren't there anymore, so I have to come up with different ones. But it didn't take too long to get back up to speed. I'm pretty happy to say. Able to take Eau Rouge flat out without too much trouble, which last time we went here did not feel like we could. It felt like we had to lift a little bit through there, so that's a little bit confidence boosting. I was able to get a 221.831, so pretty happy with that. I think the fast guys are going to be doing 220s, maybe lower, but pretty happy with that time. I usually feel like I can do okay here, but there are people who do spa all the time and are really good at it, so we'll see how it shakes out in the races. But without further ado, we'll show you the fast lap. We'll talk through how we did it, and then we'll come back here for a couple final thoughts. So here we go.
Last lap time was at 221.83. That's your best lap in the session.
All right, Spa Porsche Cup fixed. Was able to get a 221.829 fixed setup. Haven't touched the brake bias or anything like that. Let's go through how we did it. Start finish straight is just flat out, as we know. And our first braking point, I don't really have a good. With the older version, there was a mark on the pavement that I used, but that's not there now. So I just it's a little bit before the 100 board. Get those words out is where I'm going to start braking. So we're about 510 before the 100, maybe. We start braking. Pretty hefty on the brakes. But we come off pretty quick, and we're gonna get down to first as we turn in for turn 1 here. So just downshifting pretty quickly through the gears, as quick as it'll let us. Turn in, just easing off the brake pedal as we do. And it's a pretty tight turn through here. Get our right tires up here. This was not my best run through the Source, Eau Rouge, all those things, but we're just coming back on the throttle as we coming back around. But the whole lap was my best, and this one's not bad. Anyway, as we've accelerated out of there, we're going to go full throttle through here. We're going to try and get up on the right hand side here. We don't want to brush up against the concrete barrier, obviously, but we're going to get onto the right hand side of the track as much as we can here, because when we're coming up through Eau Rouge, we want to come over, and then we're going to kind of follow this darker patch. Is the goal. So we're just going full throttle, and I've got it down to where I can take this flat out pretty reliably. So we're turning in here. Gonna use the curbing and just turn in. And as we turn in, I find that I have to, we don't want to brush up against this, because that's gonna force us to the left, which will make us get an off track, which we really don't want here. So we're just getting as close to that as we can and rub it against it a little bit, I guess. But I find that I've got to hold. See, my brain tells me straighten out now, but if we straighten out now, we're going to go over and get the off track here. So we need to keep the wheel to the right for a little bit longer than I necessarily think. And then we're going to brush our left wheels against that, but we got to be turning left here so that we don't go over right here. But we've made it through Eau Rouge-Raidillon. Now we've got the Camel Straight coming up, and we're just gonna go flat out for a while. And then I'm gonna brake a little bit before the curbing starts on the left-hand side here. So we're coming up and hit the brakes, get the car slowed down. Gonna shift down to third. I think third is quickest through here, but sometimes second helps me with the turns a bit more. I'm more comfortable with second, but I think third is quicker. We're just hold that brake pressure as we ease off the brake pressure as we turn in through here, and then just keep it a little bit of brake pressure. Then we're gonna get back on the throttle a little bit, keep that turn in, and then just tap the brakes, and then I come over it a little bit here, not on purpose, just ended up being how it goes. But we're getting back on the throttle. Keep the car coming around because we need to get back over here. And we can go full throttle. And we start turning the car the other way and lift. And as we get the car turned, we can start putting the throttle back in. And then once we settle down, we can get the rest of the way onto the throttle. And then it's just full throttle for a little bit here. So we come up to a little bit before the curbing on the left there is what I'm looking at. It's probably around the 100 marker, but I'm watching the curbing. Yeah, it's about at the 100 marker where we're hitting the brakes, but like I said, I'm paying more attention to where this begins. We're just gonna hit the brakes pretty good here. This whole, those past two corners are probably some of my worst ones on the course where I'm the slowest, but we're just holding that little brake pressure as we ease off and turn in and get down to second here. Hold that little bit of brake pressure. And then I think I do the thing where I blip the throttle a little bit too early on this one. We're just holding that brake pressure, and then I put the throttle in a little bit, and it's too early. We want to wait till we come around a little bit more, and then we can put the throttle in. Blipping the throttle like that kind of unsettles the car. Makes it tilt forward and back when we don't want it to. So that's why we don't want to do that. But we're full throttle through here, and then we want to keep turning over to the right because we need to get onto the right hand side to take the next corner. Then we start hitting the brakes as we get over to the right hand side here, and then we're just going to hold that little bit of brake pressure coming around. And then as we come around, we can start getting back on the throttle. Then once we get the car settled down, we can get back full throttle. Then we're just full throttle through here until we get down to this curbing. And it's partway, like halfway, maybe a quarter of the way down where we start hitting the brakes. And it feels, this is on dry. It's probably, I almost guarantee this won't work if it's wet. But with the old track, or the old scan, I felt if I touched this on braking, I would lock up, but I feel pretty confident coming over onto this to get on the brakes. And we don't want to, it's not a super heavy braking zone. We just want a little bit of brakes. That's maybe 30-40% there. And we just ease off. And we're just going to hold that little bit of brake pressure for a while here as we get the car turned around. It's a pretty high speed section. And then as we come around, we can get onto the throttle pretty good. And then as we come out, we can get the rest of the way onto the throttle. And then full throttle through here. I think it got a little squirrely on me and I had to lift just a tiny bit when we come onto this left-hand apex here. I'm probably thinking of a different lap. Yeah. So just full throttle through here. And again, here, there's not, like, I don't have a good braking point. We don't want to use shadows or anything like that because those move. So I just, a little bit before where the curbing starts is what I'm aiming for my braking point here. So we come up, brakes. And then I get down to second here. You could probably do it third, but the second I feel helps me with a little bit with the rotation and getting back going again. But it does slow us down a little bit more as we turn in and ease off the throttle. That's your trail braking there. Just slowly let off the pressure on the throttle, or the brakes, sorry. That's a big thing in these cars. We're just back on the throttle a little bit. Learning trail braking is probably the #1 thing you can do if you're not doing it, to get your speeds up. And then we're going to turn in, just tap the brakes just a smidge to get the car shifting back over to the left here. And then back on the throttle. Don't want to come up too much on these curbs. I did get a couple off tracks doing that a couple times. Not this time, but a couple times. We're back on the throttle. And it's just full throttle through here until we get to the next braking zone right here. It's a little bit before the curb again. I think here I go down to second. Third's probably preferable. I've done it both ways. I think third is a little bit quicker, but this time we ended up getting into second. And we're back on the throttle. And once we come the rest of the way around, we can go full throttle here. We're going to come out as far to the left as we can. I think I came over just a smidge too far, either this exit or the next one. Yeah, we're just going full throttle through here. And we're going to want to lift just a little bit for this corner. As we come through, it's pretty bumpy and scary, but we can take this pretty quick. Then once we hit the outside here, I think this is where I accidentally hit the gravel a little bit. Yeah, don't want to do that. But this ended up being the best lap, so we have it in there. Anyway, full throttle. And then we're just gonna, when we come through here, come as wide as we dare, and then we're gonna lift a little bit for this turn here. Probably lifted a little bit more than I needed to, honestly. With this one, I've did it a few times afterwards. Just putting the whole lap together is kind of hard, but there we go, full throttle. Brush this curb and get back over. And this bus stop, the bus stop's my other really tough part that I struggle with. This one I goofed up. I think we lost like maybe 0.2 or 0.3 of a second through here, but so we go through, aiming to brake just a little bit. There was a mark on the pavement that I used to use. It's not there anymore. We're gonna go off this white line here, and we're just gonna brake a little bit past it, like right there. So, and we're gonna be pretty heavy on the brakes and downshifting to get the car slowed down. I probably could have brought the car a little bit to the left, a little wider here to help out, but we didn't. We're just going in a straight line. Trying to get down to first. And we're down to first. Turn in with a little bit of brake pressure. Come around. Put the little bit of throttle back in. I probably turned in just a smidge too early there, I'm thinking. Just tap the brakes and then get back on the throttle. Straighten out the wheel as we come around. Turn a little bit more. We could have got our angle a little bit better turning in a little bit later than we did. But there we go. Then it's full throttle the rest of the way. We got ourselves a 2:21.829. All right, like I said, pretty happy with the time I was able to get. There's more in there. Like the optimal was like maybe half a second faster. But I kept going after the fast lap I set, and I kept on getting sectors that were quicker. But it's just putting it all together. After a certain point, just putting the lap together is really hard for me. I forget what the stuff is called after Kimmel Straight. I knew it at one point, but those corners are really tough for me, and the bus stops are really tough for me. Those sections, if I can get those reliable and consistent, I would feel very confident. But they're a little iffy, so we'll see how it goes. If you want to watch along live when we try and do that, head on over to twitch.tv/thepiltdownman and leave a follow. Thumbs up if you like the video, thumbs down if you didn't. If you think I earned it, hit the subscribe button. And we'll see you next time. Bye!